My name is Franz Birker from C2T. It's the one of the hugest tribology centers in Austria. I'm responsible as coordinator for the project i-TRIBOMAT and building up all the business cases and the new legal entity, and let's say to set up the European Tribology Center, which will, let's say, operate a single entry point where you can ask for services. And today we are happy to present you the open call for early adopters. Let's say a possibility that industry can test our services for free. And today's webinar is all about how to apply for industry to test our services.
Cool. Thanks. My name is Javier Borràs. I'm also for AC2T. I'm more into the technical part of it. And yeah, I'm also part of this huge project, i-TRIBOMAT, and really motivated with it. For my accent, I'm sure that you already guessed that I'm originally Spanish. So, but anyway, that's not something bad. So we move on. The very first question, when we try to, let's say, to explain what is i-TRIBOMAT project is, what is actually i-TRIBOMAT? What are we talking about? So, short and clear is i-TRIBOMAT is an EU Horizon 2020 or Horizon 2020 project. So, it's a 4-year project with a budget of 7.2 million euros. Well, it's a huge project and 790 person months. But my point here is this project started 3 years ago. So we are actually in the last year of i-TRIBOMAT. And it was planned since the very beginning that the last year we will hold an open call for early adopters. And that's according to the plan, that's what we are doing. What's the goal of this big project? So the goal is to build an open innovation test bed dedicated to tribology. So this tribology is the focus of it. What is an open innovation test bed? So at some point it's just a platform. I would say what we are doing is we are joining the largest or leading tribology test centers or centers for testing and research, and we're putting them together under the umbrella of i-TRIBOMAT, the European Tribology Center. So that's, yeah, in short. These are the partners. So we have 10 partners. You can see here the tribology and material testing centers. You see that they are widely known in Europe due to their materials and tribology testing background. We also have 2 partners which are in charge of the digital, the Internet of Things, and the database, which is really, I would say, one of the main or the core parts of i-TRIBOMAT, the digitalization. And third one are our industry partners. So these 3 companies prevent us to do something that is totally useless and irrelevant. So they make sure that what we do is actually useful for them and in extension to industry. What is important here is that this funding project, the goal is to build, so that is to create a company, to create a legal entity. At the end of this project, the European Tribology Center, this ETC, has to be sustainable. It has to be working, so it has to be a company, so it's a self-standing company. So it's a legal entity. That is quite different to other European projects. That leads me to the next slide. So i-TRIBOMAT is not an ordinary research project. There's research for sure. It's a tribology, it's testing, it's developing methods. However, it's not a common research project. As I said, the goal here is to fund a new company, a new entity, a platform, joining all these testing centers. i-TRIBOMAT builds up a sustainable digital business. So it's the idea that the business part of this project is quite high. And that's the reason why here we have Franz Birker, our business developer. So what's the motivation? What's behind why i-TRIBOMAT? Why the partners thought that that platform is needed, and why the European Union also thinks that it's required, it's needed. So the idea of i-TRIBOMAT is to link the material with the product. So as I said, that nowadays you can, well, almost every week we get, let's say, calls from new materials, new materials with outstanding properties which are released in the market. However, even those properties are incredible and way better than the materials commonly used. When we try to move them to the product, so many times these novel materials fail. So i-TRIBOMAT is here to link the material to the product design. So to me, the key part here is that we are talking about material properties. That's what we find in our catalogs. But when we move to tribology, we're talking about system properties. So it's not the material, but it's the system. We need to take into account the application, the counter surface, lubrication, operating temperatures, and that's this step. So the idea that i-TRIBOMAT covers this step. So ensuring that this material can be used for your component. Now I leave the stage to my colleague, Franz Birger.
Yeah, we'll talk here. I will, let's say, talk about the implementation, how we did it in the project. So we're having 4 interacting units. The first part is, we call it shared infrastructure. So the 5 research and testing centers are sharing their infrastructure. That means tribometers and all triboanalytic equipment will be shared. We are setting up harmonized procedures to, let's say, have a trusted characterization on the tribology level. And then the next building block, we are connecting them. Can you click, please, Xavier?
No, sorry.
We are connecting this to the IT platform. So this data, this harmonized data, they're produced with the new characterization techniques, are stored in the IT platform in a huge database. It's securely stored, so the customer can have access to their data. It's securely stored and managed there. And this enables for the customer, let's say, the data-driven services. They can analyze their data, they can easily create reports, or they can also use an i-TRIBOMAT database from more than 1,000 different test data sets to make a kind of pre-selection for their product. And then the next building block, please, it's the collaboration interface. It's a, let's say, easy to use. We called it also workroom, where you can, let's say, use predefined simulation models using the data from the platform and doing lab-to-field upscaling. So making simulations with software as a service tools, and to easily upscale the performance of your material to product level. And the last building block is the ETC, the European Tribology Center, which will offer all these services under one roof. So everything can be easily accessible through our platform. So you can log in, you can have access to your test data, you can have access to this simulation tools, and the i-TRIBOMAT, the European Tribology Center, is then this future service provider. So coming from the testing and then having, let's say, these 3 kinds of services, this tribological material characterization services with a trusted characterization and qualification of materials, surfaces, and lubricants. Yeah. And the next one is the data-driven service with the entire tribological material database for pre-selection. You can analyze your data or easily customize reports. So you don't get a PDF from the service provider. Yes, you get one for the standard ones, but you can also create your own reports and analyze it 10 years after doing testing, all your data in our database. The last service is the materials upscaling services with this easy to use simulation tools. Predefined use cases are there for sealings, for bearings, for cylinder liners, for structured surfaces, and we can also on request customize our simulation models to your product. All this is then, let's say, described in a more detailed way in our service catalog, which Xavier will show you now.
Yeah. Really quick, it's online, so it's an interactive service catalog. I'm just gonna click in. Well, here we have it. You can find it online in the i-TRIBOMAT website. Well, I can just show where to find it really quick. i-TRIBOMAT.eu. And you can see here on the top part is open call. You have all the information and also the catalog. You can find it here. So the idea of this catalog is a compilation of our services. It's a little bit of an intro. And here we have the three services that Franz explained: the shared infrastructure, data-driven services, and the customer interface. You can see here that a few of our tribometers are put here or are listed, but at that point we didn't put all of them because, as we mentioned, we have more than 100 tribometers available. So we had to choose between short introduction or a huge extensive catalog, which most likely would not be interesting for everyone. So the main idea is that you can just ask which tribometer you would like to have, or which kind of test, or what is your application, and we will try to find one that suits you. The service database, as Franz said, is a platform fully online and secured, where you can access your results. That's one part. The second part would be to access let's say a repository of material data sets or data records from different institutes, so you can pre-select materials. Collaboration interface, we have like easy to use models, so we are sharing all those models as well with industry or with early adopters. Methods to analyze surfaces, flow factors, and well, you name it. That would be the service catalog. So I come back to the presentation now. Perfect. So that's the service catalog. Okay. Next. This is regarding this digital workflow. The idea is that these three services are not independent. The idea is that you can combine them in order to create a seamless workflow or between what would be the application, I would say the customer or the client, onto and to the solution. And just as a matter of example, this is one of the cases that we run with one of our industry partners. You see here, Trigonal. There's a pointer here, this one. And just a brief introduction, just a summary of what we did here. And I think it's ideal to depict what is this digital workflow that we claim to have developed. So Trigonal uses some kind of reciprocating seals for piston, actually for hydraulic cylinders, and they had developed three different materials, three different compounds that could be for the seals, for the reciprocating seals, to see if they would work better or worse. So that would be what an early adopter would bring to this case, or the application, or the materials, or something to work on. Then we do our first step, what we call the downscaling. This is I call it a fancy name, but it's just to say that we transfer the operational conditions to the model test, which means we take the application and we actually look at the contact and study or foresee, estimate which would be the actual operating conditions at the contact. Tribology had to come here somehow. Once we determine which is the operating environment, then what we do is we select a tribometer. The good news is that we have a lot of them. So what we do is we contact the partners or the service providers of i-TRIBOMAT, and we check which tribometer better suits the operating conditions of the application. Once when we do that, it's time to test. So we design a DOE, we go to the setup, and we start our testing. Our output is friction coefficient, wear rate, contact temperature. It could be sealability, it could be leakage, depends on the application. Then it comes the database. So that's, to me, this is one of the strongest points of this i-TRIBOMAT project is the database or the digital services. The results are stored in this database, which is accessible from somewhere. So we are generating a database with the results of the material testing, which the client is able to access from anywhere at any time. It's online. When we have the material stored in a similar fashion, what we do is in a similar fashion, instead of the downscaling, we do the upscaling. So having the wear rate, the friction coefficient, or this system properties, we can input or send them back or input them to our models and try to predict the actual operating conditions of the components. So we are not in the model level, but the component level. And that's what we do, combining these three services, the modeling, the testing, and the digital services, so the database, the data-driven services. We have this digital workflow. And it has been proven to work pretty good for our industrial partners so far. So I would say, in short, what do we have? We have i-TRIBOMAT, this European Tribology Center, this single entry point, or this platform, which we count with more than 100 tribometers and analytical characterization methods. As Franz said, materials, which means surfaces, lubricants. We have more than 250 specialists, with that means it's a lot of specialization. So we cover a wide part, I would say, almost all the tribology, I could say, fields within tribology. And when it comes to database, because these testing centers, they are not new, they have been here for a while, so they already have a huge database with a lot of data records. These are input in the database, so nowadays we already have more than 10,000 material data sets, and it's growing daily. And finally, the models. So by combining all the models, or let's say the upscaling tools or modeling methods from the different testing centers, the idea that we, in a way, it's like we collaborate instead of compete. Instead of competing, we collaborate. And that is our last slide, which is what is this open call for early adopters? In short, we are testing our services of i-TRIBOMAT, and we offer free trials. So if you become an early adopter, you can use the services for free. It's not a bad deal. 5 steps: registration, submission of an application. Everything is online. As I showed, this i-TRIBOMAT website, open call, and this is closed actually at the end of this month. The 28th February, we take all the applications that we have, and that's it. So, and we will evaluate them. Then moves to step 3, which is on our site. And we spent 1 month going through every single evaluation, every single application, and then we will select how many of these applications and which applications we will actually implement. Next step, legal part, collaboration agreement. So once the applicant has been selected and say like, hey, we would like to implement your case, we will sign both parts a collaboration agreement, so it's clear which role does the early adopter and the i-TRIBOMAT platform play. As soon as this is signed, we move to implementation, which means like developing the let's say, application or the request. For me, because I've been in research for a while, what is really interesting is this date here. That means that the implementation has a deadline. So at the end of this year, December 2022, the project finishes. So i-TRIBOMAT as a European project, Horizon 2020, it's over. So our funding is over as well. So implementation should be quick and let's say discrete in time. That would be it from my side, Franz.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for being here and joining.
Yeah.
For this webinar. Yeah.
So do you have any questions at this point? So please type in the chat we try to answer you.
I also unmuted or gave you the right to everyone to talk, so you can also use your microphone if you prefer. Okay, and then question is here. Okay. Then because I think that we were too clear or not, because it's not the first time that we are presenting this early adopters call. We can reply to a few of the questions that we normally get. First of all, confidentiality. And so I'm gonna ask it to you, Franz. Yeah. Are our data records confidential? What about this database? Yeah. Can everyone access our results?
So only you as a customer can see your data. So everyone, also every data coming from an early adopter is, let's say, securely stored, and only you have access. So that is, let's say, securely managed. It's not the public data what we are producing. Cool. So we have one question here.
Yeah. My company is a research center, but at the European scale, we are considered as SME. So
yeah, that's okay. That's fine. You can, let's say, apply.
Actually, we are not restricted to SMEs. Actually,
no.
The different companies from different sizes can apply for the call.
We are only restricted to, let's say, European countries and associated countries. So the link to the eligible countries are listed in the application guide. So it's only, let's say, Europe and associated countries.
True. It's also true that the European Union encourages us to incorporate as many SMEs as possible, or we get to value that they are SMEs, but it's not restricted to large companies.
No, so it's SMEs are welcome, yeah, but as well as industry partners. So we are not allowed to differentiate a lot of between, let's say, kind of applicants. We have to be neutral for sure. Yeah.
That leads me to the second question that we usually get, which is how is the application done? Is it confidential? Is it not confidential? In which basis?
Yeah. The application is fully confidential. There is only, let's say, an internal evaluation board doing the evaluation and doing this, but in a, let's say, fair and transparent manner. We have to document this and report how to evaluate, but it's strictly confidential. No external one will see what are the, let's say, questions from industry or what is, let's say, the material to be investigated.
Cool. Next question. Can you elaborate on the data analytics? Are you using some machine learning algorithms? If yes, which ones? Machine learning.
Yes, we can. We have, let's say, also an API to gather data from the database and to, let's say, apply there, for example, with other programming languages like Python, your algorithms in machine learning, or however. We are having, let's say, a special case also, the use case 2 with structured surfaces, where we are applying for this question also machine learning technologies.
Yeah, so I would say machine learning is the next step. I would say, well, once we have all this database that is already running, of course, machine learning algorithms and methods, I would not say they can be applied, they will be applied, and it's foreseen to do that. Which kind of a machine learning algorithm? I cannot reply that question. So. There's a second question from Pedro Romero. Can you talk about your simulation capabilities? Which methods or which phenomena are you able to simulate? Well, that's a really broad question.
It's a broad question, but let's say answers easily from the we are building up the simulation in let's say in different models in a modular way. So we have for let's say a friction model, we have a wear model, we have a contact model. We can let's say going to hydrodynamic or a boundary lubrication. So we have let's say split the tribological system in a modular way to different models we can pick and use for let's say the question or the loading or the contact conditions are in the application from the customers. So it's a modular way. So we can really let's say pick. We have in hydrodynamics, we have hydrodynamics model, or we have a boundary or a dry contact. Everything let's say could be picked together in puzzles. Therefore, we're having also these workrooms where let's say these different models are uploaded and let's say can be assembled to a larger scale question.
As I said, we're joining a lot of tribology research centers. So at some point, it's a matter of asking, saying, do you do boundary element method for contacting two rocks surfacing contact to check sealability? That I can reply, yes, we do. But if it's another specific case, please just send us a line or just, I would say, apply, and we see what we get, what we have in-house. I'm afraid to say that I think that we misunderstood the first question from Fanny Garot. Sorry. That is actually they are research centers. So the company is a research center, but at the European scale, we are considered as a SME.
Yeah,
so we are in between. So
yeah, it's possible to apply if you are an SME. Let's say you are eligible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clear. New question from Hendrik Graaf. Will the center include connections to sensory observations? I'm from the food industry and interested in simulating what is going on in the mouth. Wow. That's really interesting.
That's let's say a special question which we have let's say not directly tackled during the project, but we have let's say experienced partners in simulation like VTT and ACT, and we will see what we can do for you in this kind. We did some testing in this kind in the past, yeah, simulating it. Also, what is the question here? It's the let's say the feeling of different let's say food, or is it regarding the tools, or so. Yeah, also a lot of questions within this special case.
Yeah, that's a smart field. Yeah, we need to. I mean, as far as I'm not aware of it, but we should ask it inside because I cannot reply this question. To be honest. Yeah, because we prepared all the database and data sets and how to upload the data on the tribometer that we have, but I cannot recall a tribometer for mouthfeel or so. We could discuss it. It's more like, yeah, okay. I would say send us an email and we try to reply to this question. Need to ask someone else. Good. So far, these are the questions that we have until now. Maybe we can now walk. Okay, new one. Okay, last question. Well, not last question, but last question before Franz shows how the application works. This is from Philip Kemper. I'm not wrong, it's Artec. Companies that apply would request tribological measurements and simulations for analysis from i-TRIBOMAT network. The open call is not meant for companies to offer services of analysis, but rather to get results of tribological analysis on materials from the i-TRIBOMAT network. I think you are right. I'm just rereading this here.
At the moment, not. At the moment, not. You're right. But after, let's say, setting up the i-TRIBOMAT European Tribology Center, we are thinking, let's say, to include other test centers under our roof. Yeah, if they can fulfill all the quality measures, then we are open to include also, let's say, in the future, other test centers. This is, let's say, on our roadmap.
Within the 5 testing centers that are part of i-TRIBOMAT, we develop some procedures and we carry out some round-robin tests, calibration, let's say, procedures or mechanisms to make sure that the results tested here in Austria are the same as the ones tested in Spain or Germany, Finland or Sweden. So the idea, I get that if there's another center or testing center joining i-TRIBOMAT, we'll need to make sure that the results are the same everywhere. We cannot deliver different results to different places.
Okay, then. Xavier, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen very clear.
With the login data, yeah.
Yeah, but we cannot see your password.
Yeah, so I will, let's say, show you how to apply. First, you have to create a new account to register, and if you have registered yourself, then you can log in and add your personal data or go to the application form. And I think this is the most interesting one. Some words about the i-TRIBOMAT project, the purpose, and then we made it very, let's say, industry friendly, so that you don't have to, let's say, like normal for calls and you don't have to write 40 pages. It's just, let's say, in the case study description, you have the sector, the application, the material, description of the challenge, what is the problem, it's minimizing where or what else. You also can upload additional, let's say, material, CAD drawings or pictures if you want. Then you can also, if you have, let's say, some intention about testing, you can here, let's say, easily click and collect different test possibilities under, let's say, what is the contact situation, what you want to, let's say, investigate, coefficient of friction, the measured wear, or you have special environmental conditions. We, let's say, have different temperature ranges. We can go down to minus 260 and 9 degree and up to 2500 degree. We can test under hydrogen liquid, hydrogen gaseous, really everything you can imagine. I think we can test in tribological environment. Also, you can, let's say, here listed some of the available advanced analytical methods for topography measurement or 3D scanning on the macrogeometry level, some hardness testing, materials analysis, everything, let's say, is available. Also on the lubricant side, there's just let's say, some properties here listed because the list is going to be too long. Then you can, let's say, also say, data-driven services are of interest. I want to explore my data and I want to have online access to it, or I want to create reports, or I want to search in the database or some other. Then you can, let's say, select the simulation and upscaling services. If, let's say, the model is not listed here, you can, let's say, apply for a customized simulation. Then we have additionally some complementary services what we offer to, let's say, to support you during your development process. At the beginning, we can do some patent research or literature search or some technology report or a trend analysis, or also a customized consultancy. Then some words about your company, what is your impact and your expertise, yeah. And then click save. You can edit later, or you can, let's say, submit, and no further editing is possible. So it's really, let's say, click on collect. You can, let's say, apply very easily.
I think the message here is that it's not a European application that will take weeks to fill in. It's something that it will take maybe 1-2 hours. If the idea is clear, it will not take much time to apply. And so we try to make it as easy as possible, as everything online. If you think of a service or something that you would like to request that it doesn't fit to the form, just write it down. You have these blanks. Just what we're going to do is we just ask the partners and see who can, if we can implement it, and who can do it. That would be it. Another question which is we get a lot, for example, is, well, first of all, what is the downside? That I get a lot. The question is, why is it so good? Why is it, what is the catch, I would say? And I don't know, Franz, what is the catch?
Yeah, the catch is, let's say, I think we can test, analyze, and simulate everything you want in tribology, and yeah, you have all, let's say, this one-stop shop, and it would be a platform. So at the end, from the beginning, from the request, it would be digital. So you will have an offer in 1 day or 24 hours, and everything, let's say, would be in the digital world. Not writing letters or offers and sending them per mail. So everything would be in the digital world, like, let's say, the Amazon of tribology. You can find everyone, and you will get everything in a very very quick.
Good. I'm just thinking what else is common, or well, okay. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks. You will find the recording online, and as Franz said, all the information is also in the i-TRIBOMAT.eu open call. Everything is there. If something is unclear, just send us an email. No problem at all. So I had another question, but it just flew from my mind now. Okay, that's a bit a tricky one. Is it possible from someone from outside the European Union to be, I guess it's part of it, to be, I'm not sure about that.
It depends.
I mean, the person doesn't matter, the SME, of course. Right?
No, it's, let's say, you have to be in eligible country. So we have the list in the application guide. You can have a look. If you have, let's say, a site somewhere in Europe, so maybe this site can apply. But just write us an email, then we can have a, let's say, a look how to solve this.
Sure. Then happy to be thankful, to be helpful. So next question would be, how many applications are you going to take? How many projects are you going to implement, or requests are you going to implement? It's a typical question.
Yeah, it depends. The clear answer, it depends. So we have a foreseen a budget of 100,000 euros within the project to, let's say, to offer the services, and then we will see how complex the services are, how of interest they are, and I think hopefully we will leave no one, let's say, behind. Yeah, and hopefully we can, let's say, offer to all the applicants the services.
Well, the message here is that there's a part of the budget is already reserved for it. So it is how we use that budget, to which applicants, or if we can carry out all the applications, we will do it. Just let's see if we reserved enough budget for everyone. But that's what we will try to do.
So I think.
Good. I don't see more questions coming in. Then what else, Franz? What else can we tell?
So, so everything, let's say, we will be happy if you apply. So everything would be confidential. Don't worry about this. Everything is for free at the moment, and yeah, we'll be happy to see your application in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, just a question that came right now to my mind is typical question is that because the service catalog, the testing services, is just very broad. How much can I ask for? That would be like, can I ask for the moon? Can I? Because that would be not realistic either. So the idea is the application, even if you ask for the moon or a lot, we will need to narrow down to something more specific. We'll come back. So we'll contact you and come back with, hey, that's great, but that will take 2 PhDs, 10 years, and so on. And this is just an early adopter scope. It's for testing services. But I would say don't be shy, just dare to apply. And we will try to find a way to implement it, or part of it, for example. Part of it can be implemented, and the second part can be done later, for example. But that would be it. So if there are no more questions, I think that, Frank, we can close it. No, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. So many thanks for joining. And
we are looking forward to reading your application, honestly. Feel free to apply. One application per email account. That's also something to say. So 1 email account, 1 application. One company can apply twice, 3 times, 4 times from different email accounts. But keep in mind that we will take 1 application per company. I hope it was clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you a great week to all of you. Okay.
Bye.